Hello everyone, Jesse Webb, Traders Pro. Market conditions, bullish in a bull market, remaining that way here after this nice uptrend. Let's take a look at some of the shorter term indicators here. We're looking at having the top end of this rally. We're still continuing to see sentiment, momentum, and breadth with a nice setup right here towards the upper end of that range. We'll be watching for any kind of a pullback to be buying into on this retracement. We've got solid breadth solidly to the upside. This momentum move here on a little bit of a pullback, looking for one more upside here, at least to test this upper end of this range on S&P 500. We've got momentum solid in the bullish trend. We've got breadth also solid in the bullish trend, and sentiment also solid in the bullish trend. We want to see those continue to be inside of that range, and we will watch those on any retracement that we have and see if we can get those back up into this extreme range for probably a more significant pullback, but doesn't look like it as of yet. We do have buy-sell ratio that is starting to curl back together. We do have a nice solid positive buy-sell ratio that's sitting at 2.67. We had been as high as 3.5, anywhere up above that 3 range, and now starting to pull back a little bit here. So we'll see if we get just a little tiredness in this market right now and a little bit of a retracement. It is setting up like a good opportunity for a buy into any kind of pullback. We just haven't had a decent retracement quite yet. The sentiment, we almost touched that upper range, but it's pulling back right here. So that's what I'd be watching for, is to see if this pulls back at all over the next few days and weeks, and then another push higher for some profit taking and for some potential reversal. But the overall markets they just have a really bullish pattern right here, especially with bonds doing what they're doing. The Fed signaling with what it's anticipating to be done with interest rate hikes, and so we're seeing bonds continue to march higher. It has moved up above this $90 range now, so we're outside of this first zone and moving up into this next zone. So that's a positive development continuing for bonds. What that means is that interest rates are continually coming down as this chart goes higher. Interest rates are moving lower. That is bullish for the markets right here. We're also seeing S&P 500 in that upper momentum range, and if let's go out to a 1-year time frame, because there is some room to the downside that S&P 500 could take. And you see, the nice thing about this counter trend or this correction right now is it's not a correction. It's just been 5, 6, 7 days of a pause right here. That also is seasonality. We've got Thanksgiving this past week, and typically a little bit more of a quiet time of year, but we can see some volatility. But a retracement now back, potentially to this 236. That's a ways back down to 439, connecting this swing high and swing low. This is our momentum range. So we're solidly in that momentum range. So any pullback is going to be a buy opportunity, buy into a dip if we get one. If not, there's still opportunities here for upside, as this momentum indicator here is now pulled back off of extreme and is now at a more sustainable location for uptrends. That's one of the things we want to focus on, is when a stock or a market gets up into the extreme range, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to reverse entirely, but it does mean that it's reached a level of unsustainability within that overall trend, and it needs some time to breathe. It's just sprinted this run, and now it needs a little bit of a pause here to breathe, and we're just feeling that currently in the markets right now, and also approaching these most recent highs on S&P 500. Let's take a look at some of the commodities that we do focus on. We mostly are talking about gold and oil right now. These upper ranges, though, we do see silver. This is a silver ETF that has been moving pretty nicely in this overall uptrend and breaking out into that upper momentum zone. So we could see some continuation on silver as well. Symbol on that is SLV. Gold had a really big move yesterday, and we talked about that move here as it bumped up above this range and started to move. It could be a quick shot to 191, and yesterday is giving some of that indication. We've got this move here at that 191 range is definitely in sight for gold at these levels. And the other one that we want to take a look at is oil, USO, which has had this pullback now, and Still continuing to work to that upside. Let's change this over just a little bit here so we can see that yellow bar. Now, that didn't help much, but let's go to the 6-month time frame, and we can see this retracement here. So we had an up move yesterday on oil. It's still consolidating tightly inside of this range, this counter trend corrective buy zone, this 50% retracement and a 618 retracement. Inside of that, we call the buy zone or the reversal zone, where we get a 3-part counter trend, some support, and oftentimes we'll get new demand inside of that range. We'll see if that ends up holding for oil. I personally hope it doesn't. Love to see that continue to drop and see cheaper and cheaper prices at the tank overall. This is all lower oil prices also is going to help economic perspective and growth of really businesses entirely. So that oil move, we can see it continue to pause or move lower, but it is in an area where we could see a bounce on that. Sectors are looking good here as well. Let's bump back over to this perspective. We did see a couple other things. This is that energy ETF, IYE, which is kind of tracking oil, but you're seeing it kind of pause and slow. It hasn't moved, but it's running up to this upper resistance area. We've now got 1, 2, 3, 4 days of resistance. So we'll see if that ends up continuing this overall downtrend. And we're starting to see, a few little cracks in that trend currently on energy. The rest are looking pretty solid, and would anticipate any pullbacks to be opportunities now into those overall uptrends. Some muscle stocks to consider today. If we look at those, INTR, which has got a nice solid uptrend, pulling back to that 236 momentum zone here, and confirmation buy signal back up into that buy zone, which is what we want to see. Then we want to see it connected to the high. We want to see a pullback to this support area, this 236 support area, and then some confirmation. In a solid uptrend, stocks should bounce around this area. If it's a weakening trend and starts to crack through that level, then that's suspect to the current trend. Oftentimes when we get a good solid momentum stock that's moving, it'll stay in this upper range. So this becomes the zone that we can play with. We're not as interested on what's happened back here. We are interested in what's happening right now. And so we have a good solid trend that's been moving this direction that we want to see. We've got a pullback into this range, and not a real solid confirmation bar, but it is a bounce off of that area, and solid fundamentals on the company as well. Nice looking setup on INTR. Let's see what else we have in there today. PKX, which is a steel stock, ADR. We're seeing steel. We talked about that here in the commodities. Actually, I think we might have just skipped over that. I talked about silver, but the next one there was steel. So steel is actually moving higher. So we would anticipate some of these steel stocks to also participate. And we're seeing that with PKX there today. Choppy looking chart pattern, but it is a $27 billion market cap stock, and just a little bit lighter volume on some of those ADR stock picks. Let's take a look at the next one here. A couple ADRs in that list. This is another solid uptrend. Medical biotech. Again, medical biotech, certainly use caution on those. We've seen yesterday, we saw a bunch of them just really get slammed. Any news item can really move those stocks aggressively. Make sure you're using sound money management, stop management on any kind of stocks like that. Let's see if there's anything other here in the next. We're seeing some gold stocks. DRD, Tesla had a nice move, a good confirmation bar on Tesla, and that is, that's continuing to trend nicely, and it's continuing to hold some support. It could be some really nice upside continuation here on Tesla over the next 30 days to potentially test these upper ranges. That $300 range could be in target for Tesla here in the shorter term. And then gold stocks. Again, keep an eye on those gold stocks. Those are building momentum. They've already had some momentum, but they're really accelerating to the upside. That'll do it for today's update. If you don't have full access to the software, you can sign up with the link below, and we look forward to having you. Have a fantastic day today.